Hey, what's up everyone? How's it going? My name is Joe Allam, and in this tutorial I'm going to run you through my import process straight from camera into Lightroom. So I'm going to go through the details of how I organize my files, the renaming process, and how I streamline it for a completely efficient setup. By the way, I should also point out I'm actually using a new display here. This is a display from ViewSonic. It's the VP3268 4K. It's kind of designed for the filmmaker, for the photographer, because of its true to nature color. I've only been playing with it for a few weeks, and my first impressions are really great, especially the fact that it's 4K. Okay, so I've plugged in my SD card, and that just sits there on the desktop, but we need to open up Lightroom. So if we head down here, got it open already. And if we go into the import window, now this is going to come up with my existing settings based on previous imports. So I'm just going to untick that and leave it. This is actually from my Fujifilm X100F. We've got some images here from London. And I'm going to run you through the import dialog window within Lightroom. So first and foremost, at the very top, we've got copy, and that means it's going to be copying the files from the SD card to my destination. The destination up here is my G drive EV that's plugged into my G dock. It's just a portable drive that when plugged into the dock becomes a Thunderbolt drive. So initially we're going to build smart previews, and that means that when you come to edit the photos, if you don't have the original files readily available, you can have the smart previews saved in the same place as where the Lightroom library is stored. So in that case, that'll be on my MacBook Pro. That makes it very nice for editing images whilst you're traveling. You just have the smart previews. When you connect in the original files, you can export at high quality again. Don't import suspected duplicates. That's pretty self-explanatory. We don't want to import duplicate files. Making a second copy. I generally don't do this in Lightroom. The reason being that I like to manually copy my photos in after I've imported them to a separate hard drive using the same folder structure. When you use the Lightroom second copy function, it puts it in a folder called imported on, and then the date of when you imported it. That actually doesn't help me, because if ever I need to connect to that Lightroom library using the backup drive, I'd like my folder structure to be identical to the original drive. Okay, now we come to adding to a collection. So I organize my photos within collection sets and then collections within those. So for example, these photos are going to be going into the London collection, which is in a collection set of UK, which is in a collection set of locations. So this particular Lightroom library I've had running from around February of this year. And I'm going to be starting a new one soon when I move on to the next batch of travel. So I just generally keep it fairly simple and location based, and I use other methods to organize afterwards. And then renaming the file. So every photo that comes in, I rename. So the original file name is currently this. So for example, DSCF and then the number and then .raf. These are raw files from the Fujifilm. But I like to rename them to the reverse date, starting with 4-digit year, month, day, then an underscore, and then the camera model, and then an underscore, and then some custom text, and then underscore the original file name. If we go into edit, we'll be able to see how I've set up that preset. So you can create various different presets. There are some existing ones, I believe, when you first launch Lightroom. And it's just a case of browsing for the various different bits of metadata that you want and clicking insert, and it adds it up into this area. This will drag and drop, and you can add in your own special text within there. Click on to done, and then we have that now saved as a template. So the custom text, I quite simply just put in the location. So custom text here is just going to be UK because it's going into the main UK collection. Leave the extension as it is. That just means you want it to be capital, lowercase, or change it to a different format. Then the develop settings. Now you can set up certain presets to apply at the point of import. I've gone through and created a whole set of presets for all of the different Fujifilm film simulations. By default, when you import, it converts all of your images to Adobe Standard. It doesn't remember what the film simulation is from the Fujifilm, which is kind of annoying because you set it on the camera and it doesn't come across with the RAW. So I've gone and created a set of presets, and all it does is change the camera calibration to the various film simulation. For the moment, I'm really enjoying Classic Chrome. Of course, this doesn't apply if I'm importing from a camera that isn't a Fujifilm. And metadata, so this is again just a saved preset. If we edit that, we can see what it's applying. So it's very, very simple. It's not adding very much at all. If we have a look through here, I'm pretty sure all it says is copyright, the date to my name, and then location and email address and website and everything like that. So if ever these files do get exported and shared about, that metadata will stick with the JPEG or however it's exported, and it just makes it easier to find if ever they get mistreated or licensed somewhere or whatever. Now the destination. So I've already mentioned that I put these onto my G Drive EV4. I have 4 of these. This one's just obviously the 4th. And they go into a folder structure that looks a little something like this. Now if I open this up into Finder, you'll see how it looks. So from my G Drive EV4, I have media library, and these are where all my photos are. So from this particular drive, it just starts at the start of this year, so 2017. I have folder structures set up for each of the locations. So in this case, they're going to go into locations UK, and then I just have the reverse date again with all the photos that go in there. So latest ones will just go in like this, and then the raw files in there. So it's pretty straightforward, very simple. It actually makes it incredibly easy. If ever I need to grab those original raw files, I can look through Lightroom, I can find the date, or I can pull the whole location. There's nothing custom in there in terms of like events or specific naming or anything like that. It's just done by date, so it's consistent throughout. And also you'll notice that the files, so these ones are previously imported, these files have been renamed to that naming structure. So we've got the reverse date again, the camera make, the custom text, and then the original file name. That just makes it so much easier. When you do export it, things are going to be remaining in order by date, or if they do happen to get lost or anything like that, or in the wrong folders, the file itself will be correct. So it's just a double safe method of keeping it organized. So these photos are going to go into locations UK, and you can see all the different folders that it's going to be relevant to. Now I did mention I have actually already imported these, so I need to go back and tick this before I actually import, but we'll come back to that. Now, once you've done all of this, you'll probably find yourself getting pretty annoyed if you have to import consistently and always going through and setting the same settings. So in the very bottom, you can set an import preset. So I've actually got quite a few already, and let's just save these as a new preset. And what it will do is it will remember all of these settings under this name. So let's call this one tutorial, click create, and now everything is pretty much saved. I would always double check when I do come to import my next files to make sure that they are correctly set up based on the preset that I've saved, but generally speaking, it works pretty well. So let's say I've just imported those. We go into our collection and find them. So we've got a UK and London. So these are all the photos that I've now imported, and I can double click onto these and I can browse through them and take a look. This is Covent Garden, by the way, if anyone's been there. And what I would generally do is I'll look through the images, and as I'm going, I will give them a star rating of 1 to 5, obviously in order of whether they're good photos or not. If there's something that I see potential in, let's say this, I'll give it a star rating of 1. I'll just press 1 on the keyboard there. You have also got the controls on screen. You can see it's running a little bit slow because I am recording the screen whilst it's also doing some other stuff with some hard drives. And let's set that to 2. That's quite nice. 3, I can see potential in that. Definitely see potential in that one. And I'll just go through every single photo and I'll just rate them. Generally speaking, I want to make sure that I've got a large, healthy selection. I don't really skimp out too much on my ratings because I'll usually only actually go through my photos about once or twice in total. So if I've got loads of rating, that's fine with me, and I can just go down and rate a second time afterwards. So that's something nice there. And once we go through all of those, if we double click and take us back to the library, at the very top we can click onto attribute, and this is a way of filtering through the library to show all of the photos depending on the ratings that I've set or other metadata. So from attribute up here, I've just got the 1 star selected, and this is going to show me all photos from London that have 1 star or higher. So we can see all of those listed down here. I can add in other filters as well, so I can show all of the ones that are virtual copies. This is the way that I edit stuff, so we can see those are some virtual copies already edited. Let's double click back again and go back to just the 1 star. So this is my general basic way that I organize my photos and choose which ones I want to edit. And I can go through, and if I'm tight for time, I want to edit only the 3 stars. And let's have a look at something like this. That could potentially be my next photo to edit, for example. Now, other ways that I organize my footage and files is with keywords. So let's say I've edited a series of images. Let's go to my Tokyo edits, for example, attribute, and we want all of the virtual copies. So let's say I have all of these photos here, and I just want to look through those. They've been edited and I want to share them somewhere. So I have my keywords over here, and these are my frequently used ones. So say this is an image that I fancy sharing on Facebook, as well as Twitter and my blog. I wouldn't say this one's potentially good enough to go on my Instagram, for example. That one's a little bit more limited on what I choose. And go through other ones. I'm not going to share this one. This one's kind of cool. Maybe I'll put that one on my Facebook. And again, put this on Facebook. And what I can do is I can go through and add these keywords, or I can save those as a custom set. Then when I come back to my library by double clicking, you see next to attribute, we have metadata. If we toggle this on, and let's change label over here to keyword, I can now browse all of these photos using the attribute of 1 star or higher, virtual copy, plus keywords. So all of my images that I've tagged for Facebook. I can now select all of those, and let's export these. Now, again, I've set up some presets. You'll notice that I am preset mad. I love to make everything efficient and follow consistent principles. So if I do something at least twice, I would generally set up a preset for it, because it just makes it so much easier to do it again. You never know how often you're going to need to do something, so at least do it the same as the last time. So an export preset, if we go into our main export window at the top here, you'll see how this opens up, and I've got all my presets listed there. There's some existing Lightroom ones. Let's just close that down. So my Facebook one, for example, you'll see it will export the photos to a specific folder. So that is my user folder, documents, and then I have another specific export folder. Again, all of my exports across all of my applications go into the same folder, and then they are divided up by the application itself. If we have a look in there, you'll see there's also one for Photoshop, Premiere, and Sketch. Those are my most common applications for exporting things. So it will just keep all my images collectively in the same place, and I want to put it into a folder called Facebook. The reason there's an underscore before these is so that it keeps it at the top of the pile. If ever any other files end up in there, these folders will remain at the top, because technically that is alphabetically higher. And I want to rename the file on the export to my Facebook. Again, this is a preset because it's a file naming that I'm doing a lot. If we have a look on there, what this is doing is, again, the reverse date underscore FB, the original file number, and then the title. Now the title you actually input in the metadata on the photo. I generally like to label things with the title of its location. Just makes it a little bit nicer to see in Finder afterwards. When you come to upload to Facebook, you'll know exactly what image it is without really having to open it. Now we scroll down again. Now I mentioned this is for Facebook, so I need to export it at a JPEG quality. And I drop the quality down to around 80. Visually, it doesn't actually make too much of a difference, if anything at all, especially once it's uploaded to Facebook. The compression from Facebook side of things, it just would go to this anyway, so it just makes it faster to upload. The file sizes are much smaller. And likewise with the image size itself, I'll set the longest edge to 2000 pixels. I don't need to be putting up the highest resolution onto Facebook. Also, I'd like to protect these images from being taken and printed at high resolution by other people. You know, it's the Wild West out there on Facebook. I'll keep those generally at 2000 pixels. I think that's big enough to be good quality to see on there, but not big enough that people can really take advantage of. A lot of people ask me about watermarking and, you know, how I protect images. Generally speaking, I think a watermark quite often detracts from the visual interest of the image and it distracts it. I personally just don't do it, and I think I'm able to get more work and put myself out there further by not having a watermark because it draws attention to the image itself. There's a complete, you know, differing opinion across the board for that. So that's just my view on it. I generally don't use watermarks. And the image will have a little bit of sharpening for screen. This is using Lightroom's basic setting in the export. All metadata will be there. I remove any personal info if I'm using the face tagging. I don't believe I actually use that in Lightroom anyway, so I don't think there's anything to remove. After export, do nothing. I don't need it to open Finder or anything because it's in my export bin. I know exactly where it is, and it always stays the same. So now that we're back in the library, I've exported things, and if I need to do the same for the other images I want to share, say for example my Instagram, I can have all these images that I'd like to share on Instagram. I can select all of those, go to export, and put them into my Instagram folder. And then from there, I can airdrop them to my phone, or that Instagram folder is actually in my Dropbox. They will automatically sync and I can collect them later at a later date. And that is pretty much my workflow for the majority of what I'm doing. There's nothing extra special about it really, but I feel like there might be some efficiencies in there that you guys will enjoy, particularly with the presets and the namings of things. So make sure you keep an eye out for my editing tutorial, which will be coming fairly soon alongside my import process for my videos. So I hope you found that video somewhat useful, and you got some ideas on how you may be able to better import your footage and your files for an efficient process. If you enjoyed this, then give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below of what your favorite tip was. And if you've got your own tips, I'd love to hear those in the comments below. If you're new to my channel, then make sure you subscribe. I've got plenty more of these tutorials and little tips and things, as well as some travel vlogs and other stuff coming up very soon. It's all about photography and the creative lifestyle here. So if you are new, hit that subscribe button and you'll get notified of those videos. Likewise, go and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm pretty active on there and I'm sharing all sorts of stuff in pretty much real time. So yeah, look forward to seeing you again soon, and thanks for watching. See you later. Bye bye.